Hello, good people. It's Rob Lee. This is the video that I promised you we were going to do about Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden, Noah, the flood, and the Nephilim. I'm not going to make it a 2-hour video. I'm going to try to condense it because I have to get started on the website. I promised Jesus Christ, and I promised you, and the people that have graciously given to this ministry to make it happen, and it's become a ministry. I owe it to them, and more importantly, I owe it to Jesus Christ. This video is not just for believers of the Bible or Jesus Christ. It's for any free-thinking person who wishes to garner knowledge. You don't have to be a Bible scholar or a Bible expert because there really is no such thing. The Father gives and the Father takes. If the Father wants you to know the truth, you will know the truth. Some folks have the utmost devotion and obedience to their Father, and they know very little that is written in Holy Scriptures. Some of us need the Bible, and I believe that it is important to understand some of the mysteries of the Bible in the times that we are living in. The days that we are living in, folks, are so incredibly deceptive, and the enemy has taught so many lies about the Creator, His Son, and the people called Israel, that it's important to know the truth, because if not, you may inadvertently end up worshiping and serving the devil if you don't know the truth, and you will continue to walk in blindness and ignorance. The words of the Bible are more than letters, that they are truth. It's a history book for one people and their adversary, and the Bible brings us closer to our Father. It helps us to understand who's who of this world, and if we dig deep enough, and if the Father blesses us, He will show us mysteries that will change our lives forever. The issue then becomes a matter of interpretation. And if you have 10 people, folks, reading the same chapter in the Bible, those 10 people may interpret the entire chapter totally different. The Bible will never fully open up to you unless you can deal with Genesis 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, you're more than entitled to disagree with me. And in fact, I actually find it quite fulfilling and gratifying that I'm in such a small minority of believers with my little family here. The majority of this world, and especially Western culture, are completely oblivious to the truth of this world. And as I said in my previous video, they suffer from mental and spiritual malfunction. You see, the masses are so dumbed down, they can be manipulated to believe any damn thing. The church, the educational system, the internet, and entertainment breeds nothing but complete ignorance to the truth. Yet the truth is this, and don't you ever forget it. If the Almighty Father does not want you blind, then you will not be blind. This is the truth that needs to be talked about always. The American idiom, getting hitched, means getting married. Now, we know it's a figure of speech, right? Or learning, or the other sayings that we have, learning the ropes or paying through the nose. We understand what's really being said, do we not? The Bible is no different for the true children of the Almighty Father. The Bible was written in such a way, just as Jesus Christ taught in parables, because He did not want certain ones to understand His teachings. The entire Bible is written and taught by our Father the same way. We learn these things at the time that He chooses. I want to tell you a quick story, folks, about a conversation I had with someone years ago about creation and the first people that walked this earth. Many people believe that we walked out of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, which is just a complete lie. I tried to explain to a person years ago that the first people on this earth were Asiatics. And this person was like, I don't understand. Where are you getting this? It doesn't make any sense. And I told him, I said, what have you been told? And this person had to reply, well, science has taught me. I said, stop. I said, stop. Who are the scientists? I said, what does your common sense and what do your eyes and your ears tell you? And you could see the gears in the mind start to turn for the first time. The rust starting to fall off. And I said, do you think it's a mistake that the earth that we know now is about 55% Asiatic? Do they procreate faster than other people? And you could see more dust and more rust starting to fall off, and the gears starting to turn, and the eyes became open, and this person started to look at me, and for the first time this person started to ask themselves, my God, that actually does make sense. Yes. You have to use your discernment and your common sense when you read the Bible. The first people on this earth were Asiatics people. Okay, and that's why they are the biggest family on this earth now. This is common sense. This is discernment that we should have because we have eyes to see. Let's move forward and let's talk about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. All right, good people. So for Genesis 3, the first thing that I want us to understand is that you must accept and understand Genesis 3. It's the foundation of the Bible, and we have to understand it. And if you don't read the Bible in its entirety, or if you just read certain verses, then you can come to any conclusion that you want. This is the truth. I want to say something to you about parables in the Bible not being understood by people. Jesus Christ spoke in parables. He spoke to the crowds only in parables. And obviously Jesus was not teaching all people, as we are led to believe. In Matthew 13, 10 through 17, Mark 4, 11 through 12, 8, Luke 8, 9 through 10, and John 12, 37 through 44, nothing has changed. The Bible and its teachings are not for all people. They never have been. And this is the truth. And I want to talk about the Father using evil to correct his children, Israel. This is why you have the devil. This is why, because we are being conformed. And sometimes to punish us, the Father will use evil spirits and sometimes evil beings. I know this personally from my own life. In Psalm 78:49, it says, He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation and trouble by sending evil angels among them. Now, he's talking about Israel. This is Psalm 78, and it's recording, it's going back in time, and it's talking about Israel as they're wandering through the wilderness, and of course they would always complain. You see, no matter what the Father did for them, it was never good enough. Another verse that's incredibly important that we need to understand, and I talked about this in a video I did called The Devil's Own or God's Chosen. It was 2.5 hours long on my previous channel. In Deuteronomy 32:26, the Almighty Father's talking to Israel, and he says, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Now you got to understand how important this is. This is your Father saying to you and your family, I will scatter you to the corners of the earth, and I will make nobody know who you are, because you will forget who you are. You will lose your identity. And this is what has happened to you. And this is why the Bible does not make sense. There's certain parts of it that people say there's errors. There's certain part that's missing. It's because the Almighty Father had to conceal our identity. It's part of our punishment. When Jesus Christ came to this earth, he said he came to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The word lost people is from the Greek word apolumi, and it means put away for punishment. Because we have been a put up and punished people, and now we are coming out of it. He scattered us and removed our identity. We forgot that we are Israel, and this is why the Bible has the errors, and it's a way that it kept us blind to who we truly are. Remember that your Father is always in total control, constant, total control. I want to read something to you now. We have to use our minds, people. I want to read something to you here about, I've told you before that sometimes in the Bible a tree is a tree. Sometimes a star is a star. Sometimes water is just water. And sometimes they have dual meanings. And this is, you have to read the scriptures to know this is incredibly true. And this is why you can't cherry pick when you read the Bible. You can't take one verse over here, then go 400 pages and take another verse and then put them together. And this is what the serpents on YouTube do. This is what the serpents in the churches do. All you're going to do, you are a deceiver and a liar whenever you do that. So again, we're just going to read something out of Ezekiel, and I just want you to think about what's being said here, because this is the Almighty Father talking about races, nations, tongues, and tribes that were already on this earth, people. They were already on this earth, people, before the Almighty Father created his children, called Adam, okay? Ezekiel 31 says, and I'm just going to read up to 9. Behold, the Assyrian was a cedar. There's the word, there's a tree. In Lebanon, with fair branches and a shadowing bough and a high stature. Therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied, and his branches became long. All the fowls of heaven made their nests in his boughs, and under his branches did all the beasts of the field bring forth their young. And under his shadow dwelt all great nations. The cedars in the garden of God could not hide him. The fir trees were not like his boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like his branches, nor any tree in the garden of God was like unto him in his beauty. I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden, let me say it again for you, so that all the trees of Eden that were in the garden of God envied him. Obviously, the trees in the garden of God in Eden were family trees of peoples, nations. These peoples and nations had been here long before us. We were the last ones. This is why I told you before, the first people on this earth were the Asiatics. We were last, and the Almighty Father said, I did not choose you because you were the most in number, because in fact you were the least. We were the least. There were other peoples already on this earth, already old, already numerous when Adam was formed. And the earth bears this out, and we'll get into this way later in the video when we get into Genesis 6. The earth bears this out if you will simply look. But you have to be willing to use some common sense. You have to be willing to use your discernment. You have to be willing to pray. These are perilous times, and you have to be willing to do the work. Now, what I want to do now is I want us to read. I just want to read some verses that will hammer home about trees and about plants and about vines, because this is metaphoric, okay, for families, for people. This is Luke chapter 3:9. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Every tree therefore which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. These are the words of Jesus Christ. The words of Jesus Christ himself. Do you think he's actually talking about a tree, man? No, he's talking about people. Again, Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 3 verse 10, and now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. It's repeating itself from Luke. I want you to hear it twice. Jude chapter 1. These are spots in your feast of charity, when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds they are without water, carried about of winds, trees whose fruit withereth, without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots. This is talking about the demonic races that live on this earth with us. Matthew chapter 15 verse 13. And Jesus Christ answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. And we know that when it's rooted up, it's what? It's cast into the fire and burned up. Matthew chapter 7 verses 17 through 20. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them, by your progeny. This is why Jesus Christ says, I am the true vine. He is the true vine. He is the Son of Man. He's not a human. He's the Son of Man. There's a difference between a human and mankind. We're not all the same, people. The world wants us to believe that we are, but we are not. This doesn't mean that the flock of Jesus Christ doesn't make mistakes and struggle, because we most certainly do. But we are different. In the parable of the wheat and the tares, Jesus Christ says, and I'm not going to read it all, but he confirms Genesis 3. He confirms Genesis 4, 5, and 6. And this is not even good enough for the Christians, the churchgoers then. Even when their king himself, when he solidifies the truth and says, yes, It's true. It's still not good enough for them. Matthew chapter 13, 28 through 30. Jesus said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou that we go and gather them up? But Jesus said, No. Lest while ye gather up the tares, ye also root up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, which are his angels, people, gather ye first together the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn, but gather the wheat into my barn. Do you not see the difference there? 13:36 and 37. Then Jesus sent the multitude away, and went into the house, and his disciples came to him. And what is the first thing that these men wanted to know? Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man himself. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. Who's the wicked one? The children of the damned devil. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. 13:40. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. 40, we're going to go 41. We're going to go ahead and finish it out. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and to them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. 43. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears, let him hear. Most people at this point don't have ears. Let's go to 47. 47. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind. 48. Which when it was full, they drew to shore, and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast away the bad. 49 and 50. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angels shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now let me ask you something, people. Does that sound like Jesus Christ is being very inclusive? Is he telling everybody, come on, it's all right? Or is he being very exclusive, that this is for my family, my people? The world wants us to believe just the opposite. We'll have to go further. We'll have to go further, folks, because now that we've laid the foundation, now we can read Genesis 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we can understand.